All right, what's up, Joe? How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, excited to complete the out of system crew and get you on as the final guest from out of system.
The least funny one. I get it. Trust me. I was just telling you guys, I completely understand why, because Gage and Mike they crack me up on it every time I'm on a phone call with them. So I understand.
Yeah, but potentially most important from what I've heard. That's what I've heard with a lot of that. Now, don't be. I know you're
Yeah.
gonna be humble here.
No, the thing about those two is like they're extremely creative and they come up with some really funny ideas, but they need to be like kept in line a little bit. So that's kind of my role, is like making sure it doesn't get too wild and too unorganized. So
That's
that's
the
kind of where I fit in. Yeah.
exact same of she's got a great personality kind of compliment there.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
He's the most down to business, I guess. I mean, it's not always a bad thing.
100%. In anything I do, I would say I'm more so that way. And I would be described like by teammates or people I worked with. Definitely more so like, I don't know. I'm more so just thinking about like the operation and like all the business side of things, and how do we solve that issue? That's what I like doing. It's like, how do we solve that problem? That's what I like to do in any part of my life.
Sweet. Well, good transition. Any part of your life. Give us the little elevator pitch on Joe Worsley. Kind of talk us through how you got into volleyball and just some kind of life stuff. We obviously had your brother Gage on, so we got a little bit from him. But
Yeah.
it'd be cool to see your perspective.
So yeah, well, so my brothers and my Gages and my volleyball careers are very much intertwined. It's pretty similar in terms of like everywhere we went, experiences. We experienced it together for the most part. I was born in Fulton, Missouri. My dad is always a volleyball coach. That's how I'll explain how we got into volleyball. But within like 2 years, moved to Hawaii, on Oahu. My dad was helping out with both the men's and women's programs. Family on the island, parents are working. We were being raised. My dad got a head coaching job in upstate New York in Rochester at RIT. And he was there for 9 years. My mom got the head athletic training job at the university too. So that was super unique. You don't see that happen too often. So she was literally the head athletic trainer for the volleyball team. He was the head volleyball coach. So like they traveled together. It just all worked out super, super well. As we got old enough, I guess, so to speak, I was 7, my brother was 6. And we had, at that point, we were playing like every single sport. My parents just threw us into everything because, my middle name is Montana. I don't know if people know Joe Montana. I would think a lot of people who know football know that name. And it was, our family are huge 49er fans. So with that being said, like we got into, at that age, it's like flag football and that type of stuff. So we were playing that. We're playing baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, everything. And then one of my dad's buddies, the arch kind of the rivals of their school, Nazareth College, which all you guys are familiar with that too. Cal Wickens is the head coach there. And he had a club, Pace Bootlegger, which we found out about. And he had my dad bring us to a U12's practice one day. And the practice, literally at that time, it was Steve Odell, Robbie Page, I think Dan Glamick, like those guys. That was kind of like the team at the time. I'm pretty sure Dan was. I know Steve and Robbie. I think Dan was on that team too. Because my dad was coaching Dan's sister at the time, Caroline, if I recall. If that's right, I would be shocked because I'm really bad at things. Pretty sure it's Caroline though, for some reason. So, but all those in Rochester, it's a very tight knit volleyball community, like a lot of places. Super awesome. We showed up. The first 2 years we played volleyball, so we got in there. We loved it right away. Like immediately, we're like, yeah, we need to go back. Our dad was coaching our whole career, but he never really pushed us into it. He just took us there, and like Cal was kind of running the club. My dad wasn't involved in our career for the first couple of years at all. It was just my mom taking us there. And, the first 2 years, my brother and I were 7 and 6 when we started. So I was 7, 8 years old. We didn't play a single time. And most of the guys on the team, besides like Robbie and Steve, we would show up. We wouldn't play a single point ever. We never played a single point. And if we lost, we would be crying like off the court for like an hour. We'd be sitting there crying, like bawling that we lost. We didn't play a single point. Like all the other guys going and getting chicken fingers and fries. And we're the ones just like distraught. My mom would have to like calm us down, and our coaches would be like, just kind of like, what's going on? Because they didn't understand with these like 7 and 6 year old kids. So that was our like first introduction, and then really kind of into like competitive sports too. Because when you're 7 and 6, you don't get super like into like competition. You're not playing for scores and stuff. But we were playing on a U12s team, so we were playing for score at that point, which was a new concept for us. And we hated to lose. We grew up every single morning. I would wake my brother up 6 a.m. bedroom volleyball. This is way longer than an elevator speech. I apologize, but
you're good. You're good.
I'm gonna fast forward in a second here. So yeah, that's where we started playing. We got old enough to a point. After a couple of years, my mom told my dad to take over coaching our youth team, where Spencer Wickens, who's now at Pepperdine, Cal Wickens' son, us three played together. Then Owen came on. Us four played together for 3 or 4 years at U12s. The videos are absolutely hilarious. We still have a bunch of them. We're tiny. We're super, super small. We were going to nationals with one guy that could block, getting our butt handed to us by the Puerto Ricans, Hawaiians. But those years really were kind of like what developed our competitive mentality. Because after every single loss, up until I was 13 or 14, I was like crying for an hour, and like just like I couldn't like. And my dad knew when we were going to nationals, because in the Rochester area we whooped everybody. We were playing girls. We were playing like girls 10-year-old U10s and stuff, and it wasn't even really fair. And then when my dad knew, like, once you go to nationals, it's a for most young East Coast teams, I always find that it's a eye-opening experience usually for those teams. And it was for us, certainly. We were like, oh, we win everything. Like my dad just knew when we played the Puerto Ricans, Hawaiians, Micah, our first year, he and Tui were playing the one Ka'ulukoa with Ka'ulukoa, the U12s division. We got whooped around our U12s years. Fast forward, my parents wanted to move us to a better, so to speak, like a more, I don't know how to say this, like just more, I guess,
a better volleyball area.
In a way, volleyball area, California, so to speak. And so we moved out there, played first year at Diablo Valley Volleyball Club. It was awesome. My dad had to stay behind to finish the last season at RIT. He came out, worked the first year at Stanford when they won the national championship. He was on staff there as their technical coordinator. Then next year started at the club, Pacific Rim Volleyball, and we played there from there on out. And we were fortunate to, have some pretty awesome teams there. Our last 2 years, 17s, 18s, we won national junior nationals. Micah played for us our last year. I ended up going to Hawaii, and Micah ended up going to UCLA. And so, but the recruiting process is another kind of venture in itself. That's kind of how I got to my university stage. Had a career at Hawaii, and then signed a contract to come play in Germany. I've been here for 3 years now. Sorry about that. That was long. I just kept thinking when that happens, it's a long, like I was thinking about it since 7 years old. I've been playing for 17 years, going on 18 here for volleyball. That's a large part of my life in general. So there's a lot in there. That was kind of as short as I could put it. So
that was good. No, that was pretty compact. Honestly, me and Peter are the same way. Like both of us, like we'll get rolling, and like it is hard to stop the train when it gets moving.
Yeah, honestly, it was like, I was just gonna say, I've been like that up until like I started coaching, and then I realized like, oh shit, I've only got like a minute at timeouts to be able to talk to these kids. Like I've got to like keep it in line a little bit. But no, man, it's not. We got time. Dive into the career here. You said you grew up playing a bunch of different sports. Do you think that there was one particular that kind of set you up best for volleyball?
So my dad is a huge advocate for this. Soccer. My brother and I loved soccer. Our whole mom side of the family.
Another one.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. Sorry.
Every high level volleyball player, I think, or like college, like volleyball player, they were involved in soccer at some point in their career. I played for 7 years. I quit at the worst time. My team was like a couple months later was going to be going to Italy for an international tournament. And I quit because I wanted to focus solely on volleyball. I told my dad, like at 11, I sat him down at the dinner table. I'm like, I'm focusing only on volleyball when I was 11 years old. And
he's down to business then too, apparently.
Yeah. No, I've always been very like calculated out.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and I told him that. And I'm like, I couldn't have waited 3 more months, go to Italy, and then stop. Dang, I was so dumb. I later on, I'm like, what was I thinking? So, but yeah, I think soccer 100%. The vision, the control, the patience. Like, there's so many aspects of the game. I played midfield, which is like I would say most similar to like a setter position in terms of like your role on the field, so to say. And I loved soccer. I really did love it, but I just loved volleyball a little bit more. So I think soccer was the biggest one for me.
I have made that. I've said that. Peter doesn't. I don't even know how many times I said it on the show. Whenever me and Peter, like even way before we started this podcast, and we'd like sit down and like have a couple of beers, we would talk about volleyball, and I would literally say that. I've been saying that for so long, and the reason why I think it's so true is I didn't play soccer, and I blame that I didn't make it further in my career because I didn't play soccer. I was like the footwork connection. I was like everybody I know that's made it to a high level play soccer except me. I was like, I could have been so much better. I was like, man, did I miss target there?
I think there's like basketball is a similar sport too. Like you can get similar type of transition from, but yeah, like you said, the soccer transition into a lot of sports. My dad always tells like young kids too, because he has volleyball club, like they ask, and he's big for like when you're younger, play different sports, but you have to eventually kind of focus in on one once you get into high school, especially if you're looking to go to college. Unless you're like freak athlete like Micah or somebody like and other like there's a lot of people out there who can balance several sports because you just have those like kind of like freak athletes, and he played at a high level. But for me, like I was just more so focused on doing one. And yeah, I don't know. So I 100% agree. I think soccer is a huge reason for a huge bonus for kind of how I approached the volleyball game, so to speak, and the position I played there, playing midfield.
Do you think there's a specific age you should specialize in a sport? Like you did at 11. Would you call that a little early?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, if you're like top, if you're kind of like top of your class in top of your school in like 2 sports, then go ahead and play 2 sports. For me, like I at a super young age got really specialized, and I always regretted that, not playing soccer a little bit longer. Because even like in high school, I felt like I was watching, I could play like soccer still if I like trained a little bit. Because my brother and I, like we actually played soccer at a pretty decent level. Gage was super physical. He's always been really physical. He got in trouble all the time because he's bigger than everybody. He was running kids over. There was lacrosse was a huge issue because he didn't know the rules, and he would just be smacking kids in the head as hard as he could. Like that was always a huge issue with him. He didn't know the rules ever, and he was just incredibly physical. Like, but the thing is, he always had his helmet was too big for him always, so he'd be running up and down like this with his head helmet bobbling and smacking kids in the head. And it's just ridiculous. And I was much more like the finesse player, I would say, so to speak. He was just just physical, like he'll run you over, and he did that.
The bounty hunter, the goon.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So with soccer though, did you feel, and this was, I guess, my detriment. I played it through high school. Like we didn't have volleyball, so soccer was my sport to be able to at least play something in high school. I felt like, because with soccer, a lot of times you got to be like light on your feet, moving your feet, ready to, play the ball. I felt like on defense, a lot of times I'd have happy feet moving around, and it like took me a really like conscious effort once I got to college to just really focus on like, don't move your feet. But I just feel like that was the one negative thing. Do you agree? Did you find that same problem, I guess, when you transitioned into volleyball or not?
Yeah, we had a really good coach when I played soccer. We worked with there's this one, he's international. I want to say he was Italian that we worked with. We on the top team at our club, which my brother and I are fortunate to play on. We were a high level coach, and so I don't know. He always had us like pretty disciplined in general. I always felt like how I approached soccer was like on offense, I was like really patient and stuff, and I kind of like manage and stuff a little bit different than how I set. I like to in a way. Defensively, my brother and I, our whole mom side of the family, my brother and I are known. We get taught for our big butts. Everybody talks about it. It's not like a huge, like people all the time talk to us about it. Just our big bottoms and our thick legs. And so like we use in soccer, like we use that to our advantage, like boxing out, like with stuff in defense. We both were pretty physical on defense. And we used our lower halves to our advantage for that. And so I think definitely like when I look at my settings, sometimes I do overrun balls here and there, and that could be like exactly what you're talking about. Like I'm just a little bit too like jittery, but I never like felt like, because I didn't play soccer till I was, in high school and stuff, and so I was at 11. I think I got rid of a lot of the like those types of habits at an earlier age, so to speak, maybe.
Gotcha.
So when you moved into high school, were you, at this point, you guys have been playing volleyball for a while. Obviously, you're out in California where there's a lot more competition. Were you guys kind of standing out already at that high school point? Or when did because I mean, obviously it happens for different people at different levels, and sometimes you never quite stand out as much, but like you Engage especially got like to a point where you guys were talked about all over the country for volleyball by the time you finished at Hawaii with all the runs for national championship and stuff. So when did you kind of start to get heavier, even outside of recruiting? Because I know a lot of younger guys that like have all these offers that like nobody really knows who they are until they get to college. You know what I mean? So like when did that kind of come in for you guys where you started to get, or you personally?
Yeah, so my brother and I always say that like the reason we got recognized a lot is just because we were like these annoying like little like critters almost, because we've always been super small. And so whether it's beach volleyball, indoor volleyball, if you look at any videos, significantly smaller than the rest of our team. And it kind of scaled from there. Like we grew, but our teammates grew even more. And so our dad growing up, he instilled a lot of discipline in us. Like that all came strictly from like how we were raised. And we can get into that a little bit too, just how like really, really tough on us. And I think, we needed that in order for us to go the direction that we did with our careers in school. Like off the court, we were freaking hooligans. And so, with everything being said, I think that development really transferred over like later on for us. So like after school, middle school, elementary school, we'd go out and he'd set up cones. We had a beach court at the facility. We'd hit 100 shots each corner. Boom, boom, boom. Then we'd do this drill. It'd have to be 20 in a row where he'd be throwing balls all over the court. You missed it, it's like reset. And we'd be out there like hours after. And we had 3 minutes after the bell to get out to the sand court. So bell hits, you sprint out and you go. And so that type of stuff, the amount of repetitions and the focus that we like were expected to have constantly really transfer, especially for that age. Like at that age, the amount of times we touched the ball was just ridiculous. And to be honest, like I feel like the amount of growth I made at that point, I've made like huge, way more leaps than I have at this point, just because of like structure of stuff and how training is designed and stuff. And I was fortunate when I went to Hawaii too. It was really similar type of structure to how my dad, or concept to how my dad thought. And so I was really similar like that, high repetition, but it's focused. Like that's the one thing people like coaches I talk to, they're concerned to do high repetition stuff because they think it gets messy.
All right.
Okay, I didn't know if that was me or.
Yeah, no. I was wondering the same thing. I think it's something on his end. Wait,
Okay,
try again.
Hello.
Yeah, we got you.
Yes, I'm sorry for that.
Oh, no worries.
No worries.
Where I was going, yeah. So where all that stuff for us, there's a reason like when we play beach volleyball, like have all these kids watching, because like we were hitting those shots hundreds and hundreds of times a day. Like that type of stuff pays off for you, and you see that pay off like years down the road. And so for us, going out and being able to like serve locations is nothing. Well, like in the indoor practice when you're younger, it's 45 minutes target serving, boom, boom, being able to hit like a little square constant. All that stuff for us is really what led us to later on in our career. And kind of as the physicality came, we added that element. But I felt like when I got over into Europe and stuff, and even like at times at Hawaii, that I lost a little bit of that touch that I always had, because our coaches just didn't believe in the same type of style. And I think Micah, he probably spoke on the same thing, how he was trained by his dad. And it was a really similar style. When he came and played for us, it was like he was pretty used to a lot of the stuff we did, because it was a really similar mindset for that year he came and played with us. So where I was going is like, that stuff, I think college coaches picked on pretty good, just in terms of our team's training. Like our club, we had Spra come up to our gym a bunch of times. We had like all these college coaches coming to watch, and they were just like, Spra, I heard several times, just like, he's like, what that crap? Because it's so intense, and like our dad demands a lot from us and high expectations. And that's why you have guys like, he all the time is sending guys out to BYU, Hawaii, like constantly, guys like that, because coaches also really appreciate just kind of like the discipline that he instills in the kids when they get to the school. Like they understand what is expected of them. So I think just our entire development kind of got us to that point, and our dad's training style is what kind of like put all of our team kind of like on a map, so to speak, because coaches would show up and they just noticed like how like at tournaments, there's no messing around it. It was like everything was boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
In the center. When we got home, my dad, like he wanted us to have fun, but like when we show up, it's like, we were having film sessions like crazy leading up our like 15s on. We were watching film on every single team at nationals. We would have film sessions, scouting reports. It was a full on like collegiate professional team. And some kids, that's just not what they wanted at that level. And they were there for a year and left. For us, we loved that. I can sit here and watch video all day long. I love that thing. And we really like our last 2 years there's a reason like why we were playing at that levels, because we had all the kids, all the guys on the team were really like raised in that program and had that same sort of mindset. And I think that's kind of what led to us, at some point. I just think it was our team in general in our club at the time, even though it's a really small club, just super, super like discipline, every aspect of it. And just that focus at that age, and you're training like 14 to 18-year-olds, I think that stuff pays off in a short amount of time. Like you see a lot of growth versus like kids who just go out and bounce balls and practice all day. Like we weren't doing that. It was just like super focused work all the time. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head too when you said like coaches want that. They want athletes that can like take criticism and understand that it's just that the coach is holding you to a higher expectation. It's nothing personal. It's not because they think you suck. Like I had Jay Hosick, we've had him on a while ago, but he's very blunt. Like when he coaches, he'll just tell you how it is. And a lot of people just don't like that. But the way there was one time he just described it as like, if anything, it's good, because he was like, it means that I know that you're better than how you're performing right now. Like you're not doing the stuff that I know that you can do.
Yeah.
He's like, if I'm not saying anything to you, it probably just means that I think you suck, and that like there's there's no standard for me to hold you higher up to, like. But I think that like for sure, coaches want players like that can actually take the criticism and understand what it's about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Yeah, I think 100%. Like, not to say that our team, we didn't have guys like acting out here and there, like, but you got put in your place pretty fast. I had to walk home like 10 to 15 miles one time in the pitch black. And I don't recall exactly what it was, but whatever that was, I definitely didn't do that again. But that type of stuff's like gnarly. Like he'd only do that because I'm his son. And I was probably doing something like just to like, I was pissed off at him one day. But like that type of stuff,
I love that.
like, you learn fast. That's super intense coaching. You learn fast from even though some kids can't handle it and stuff. I truly believe in that system because you get people's attention, and the people who are there and are bought into that style. It's like that's a super special group, and we felt that way. Like with our club team, it's like the way we train, everything we do, like it really separates us from a lot of other clubs and teams because we're just like so bought in and willing to do like so much more than we feel like other kids our age are.
Yeah, me, Pete, and Callaway have talked discipline in youth a lot, like on this podcast, just because we in general talk about everything. We discuss about the youth and like kind of how times have changed for sure, even from when we were kids. I mean, the way that you were disciplined by your dad, like, I mean, there's probably way fewer people doing that nowadays, and definitely aren't doing it to anybody else's kid except maybe their own kids. My dad was the exact same way. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so like he's had the same high top, flat top Marine Corps haircut for 30 years. Like if we didn't like do dishes in the house, you were doing like 50 push-ups, and you couldn't like go upstairs. You couldn't do anything until you did. We would get like conditioning for punishment. Like you got punished for everything. And Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like doing, and even when I talked to Peter about like when his dad, I mean, Mr. Stu wasn't like my dad, like the military, like all like this, but
Yeah.
like Peter would tell me about when they'd go out in the backyard and they would be peppering like him, Aaron, and Paul. It's like Stu would come out and like make sure their form was right and make sure that like if you're doing this, you should do it with a purpose, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
like I just think that I don't understand people that like don't see how that's the best possible way to do it. Like if it's just straightforward and to you, like it makes so much more sense. And even me still, like as like to the level I've gotten or whatever, playing professional, like Peter was saying about Jay, like how he's very straightforward. When I get coaches that are like not exactly kiss ass, but like sugarcoat things where it's like
Yeah.
I'll go up and hit a ball and they're like, you know, like you have this really good angle here, but you know, you're dropping your arm. Like I don't want like a compliment. And then I'm like, dude, just come to me and be like, hey, stop like fucking hitting that shot. It's not working.
Yeah.
Find a different.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, sweet. And then they sit there and they want to like talk about it for like 2 or 3 minutes and explain. I'm like, dude, I get it. Like the swing's not right. Like just tell me that shit, get your elbow up, and then let's get back into like getting drills done. Like, yeah, I'm very,
Dude,
very much on that side.
Yeah. I've gone back and forth because I have guys on my team like this. Jordan's in a similar boat. He was in race pretty similarly. And we tell like you learn really fast that way. It's like
Yeah.
if you don't learn, it's not fun. So it's like in volleyball or like just in general, like in life, I feel like everything is very clear, like what the expectations are. You meet that, then everything's good. If not, like you got to be held to a certain like level of expectation, so to speak. And so I couldn't agree more. I think like expectations and being like stern and stuff is super important because it pays off for you later on in life and you just are able to deal with more in general.
How have you dealt with teammates that aren't like that? Because I know I've struggled with that since I'm very disciplined and like I'm chase down every ball, like break your leg, even if it's practice, like for the ball. And I struggle with it a lot over here and other places. How have you like?
It's really tough, to be honest. It's really tough. Because like I said, I grew up in an environment everybody was like used to it. Like this is the environment. Like so you're not thinking twice about how you approach something or what you say to somebody or how you said something. It's like just listen to the message. Like what was being said to you. There's a reason they're saying. Like you said, they're not telling you because they think you can't do it. Like I've coached like kids before too. I'm like, if I'm not saying anything, it's because I don't think you can do that. I literally don't think you can. And so, you know, for me, it's really tough for me. Like sometimes I just have to be silent. I just have to be silent in a way because if I do say anything, I feel like it just won't be taken the right way. And how I'm used to doing stuff is like, this is the expectation. That's why I love playing with my brother. I go to him and I yell at him, curse at him a little bit, and he just, no matter what, he hears the message. And even if I'm a little pissed off, and we're back and forth the same way, we can do the same thing to each other. And our chemistry allows like our teammates to build off it. Like they see us doing that, then if we do it to them, it's like, all right, it's just how he does it to his brother. And so that's why I've loved playing with my brother because that environment and what we're just used to. But it's really difficult, and you just have to be careful. Like it comes from experience. Like different guys, with that type of mentality or handle things differently, and they don't necessarily hear the message all the time, and it's difficult for me as well as like other people who are super like, dude, this is expectations. Like like right now, professional athletes, these are the expectations you got to deliver at the end of the day. At the college level, the same thing. These are just how I was kind of raised, and Milan Zarkovic kind of brought that same mentality. Like he has the same thing. It's like, these are the expectations, do it. And there's no real like just figure out a way to get it done at the end of the day. And I think that's like coach's job is like, there's various ways to get things done. And a coach just has to make sure that.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I just wanted to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, East Coast Volleyball. They are currently selling 4-to-4 merch. So if you want to get your very own long sleeve, lightweight, perfect for warming up for any sort of volleyball event or just lounging around, it's awesome. Really, really great shirt. And I like the style too. If you want to get your very own, go check them out online at eastcoastvolleyball.com or on Instagram at ECVCHO.
So yeah, when at the University of Hawaii with our assistant coach there, Milan Zarkovic, he has a very similar like expectations. Like you show up, like do your job, like you're playing like they're one of the top programs in the country consistently. Like that's the expectation. Like your job, there's too many guys at the front half, I think, of my career there, and years before, where they're showing up and like freshman and sophomore, like I'm not playing, I just kind of come and cruise. And it's like now you show up and you don't do that, you don't get your grades, you don't do this, like you're kicked off the team pretty fast. And that's just the expectations. Like you come in and you work your butt off, and if you're redshirting, you get yourself in a shape. That's why they loved Colton Cowell at Hawaii, because of just the example that he brought, like red shirt, he just got jacked. Like they always kind of like refer to him and bring him up. But that's the mentality. Like I had the exact same thing, but in a volleyball fashion. Like I was just nonstop in the gym my first 2 years. Like I would sit there and just do all kinds of stuff in the gym by myself, because I didn't have any obligation to go do anything socially. I didn't really, I had a couple of friends, but I just wanted to sit there and like go train and set and serve balls and just play music. I just like going in the gym, like turning up the music, playing sick playlists and just working on stuff. That's my favorite thing to do.
What's on the playlist? I mean, you opened this can of worms, so what is on Joe Worsley's Alone in the Gym Grinding playlist?
So it's one of two things. One, it's country. I love country's by far my favorite. Love country music. Or two, it's just like a mix. I'll just shuffle through my liked music, and it's like a variation of stuff. Like I love 80s rock, a lot of pop stuff, like just big songs, 2000s hits, a little bit of punk rock every once in a while. It's always good. We love that up here in Lunenburg, actually. But I'll throw that on. There's a variation. Like my playlist is very like all over the place. I don't really like any heavy metal or anything like that, but everything else, rap, I can get into pretty much anything. But if I'm going for something specific, it's usually country. I'll throw on a country playlist, even though it's not like I can get fired up to it. Maybe some other people can't.
No, I respect that. My mom and brother are crazy about country music, so I used to listen to it all the time. And I liked it, but I was like, I need to find my own kind of thing. And I would listen to a bunch of different stuff. But now, like, I've turned back pretty heavy to country now, where I listen to a lot of country. I'm like, I've gotten really into it, like the past, probably even since high school, actually. But I respect it. I think, dude, I can easily get hyped to country. I really easily get hyped to country.
It's it's a good genre. It's pretty if you kind of follow along to the big artists, Morgan Wallen, his recent album, go to Dangerous.
Yeah.
Listen to that. That was on our road trip last year, 5 weeks. We would play that entire album like 3 times in one day if we had a long trip. It was just like constant. We loved it. So
no, I agree. I'm same boat. I've had that exact same album on rotation nonstop. Well, going through that stuff with Hawaii, then, as you kind of got into a little bit, actually, really funny story about Milan. I just remembered this. So he applied to be the head coach at University of Charleston a few years ago. There was talks after we found out, because we offered him and he didn't take it. Our athletic director didn't disclose everything, but there was talks that he was serious about the job, but that he was also potentially doing it to try to bait Hawaii into giving him more money. I don't know the truth behind that or any connection there, but when he was here, so obviously he's Serbian. We had a Serbian guy on our team that was really like, he was a young red shirt, like super small outside that I think our old coach was going to make him into a libero. But dude, he would not stop talking about Milan. Before he came on the trip, he was like, you guys don't even know, you're about to be like Serbian fucked when this guy could, like, he was getting so heated and so excited about Milan arriving. And then he comes for like one of our practices and we're just going through some drills for Milan to watch. And he's like setting them up. And this kid, I've never seen him so excited to practice. Like he was like an energizer. Like he couldn't stand still. He was so pumped to like show off and like play. And he gets rocketed a serve and he like throws one arm out at it, only one. And like, obviously there's nothing really came of it. He got shanked off and Milan like just ripped into him. He was like, what are you doing? He's like, are you fighting with a sword? And like gets up in his
yeah.
And dude, he got devastated. Like his whole body language just like limped like Eeyore. He was so devastated that Milan like only ripped into him the whole practice. It was hilarious.
Dude, I promise you, any level of volleyball player, I actually will stick by this. You go challenge Milan one-on-one short court, and he'll come up with a game, and he will beat you first time you play him. I
Really?
promise you, I've never seen. He's played some pretty high level players, and I'm telling you, any level of volleyball player, first time, because Milan, when you first meet Milan, the thing a lot of people just don't understand what he's saying. Like he's Serbian. He just rambles on. You have no idea what he's saying. And so you just kind of like submit to whatever he's asking or whatever he's doing. And he knows that. He knows nobody understands what he's saying. And so he'll play you and he'll just start calling random points. Like he'll foot fault, or he'll like, if I play with my left hand, you have to play it over in 2 touches. You can't play it third touch, or he'll just ridiculous stuff like this. And he'll call it, and like, you can't do anything about it. And it's not just that, he's actually gnarly. Even with, he's getting, and sorry, there's a quick pause. And with him, and with that, like, dude, I've never seen him lost, and it's not even close. He blows everybody out. We would go on trips with Hawaii. Like, some of the other team would be out early before the match. He'd call them over, play one-on-one, whoop them. Some of their starters.
Would he do the little point cheats too? Would he even on the opposing team? That's awesome.
He's crazy. There's a lot of stuff. I can't disclose most of it because he's at Hawaii right now, and I can't. There's a lot of crazy stories. When he was in Serbia, we visited his hometown this year though, when we traveled to Serbia for a match. So Milan's awesome though. Everybody needs to meet Milan at some point.
Yeah, he was great. But yeah, so Hawaii, like with the fight for national championship and stuff, like just kind of talk about your experience at Hawaii.
Yeah, I kind of talked a little bit about just like the transition from my first couple of years there over. It was the only school that wanted me to come like be strictly setter. Some said like, oh, setter libero, but I know how that usually goes. You show up and you just get thrown in the libero position. They just want to get you there. And so they're like, no, we want you to come compete to be like our setter. At the beginning, I don't think they had much expectations of me, to be honest, in general. And like I said, I just like continue to do what I always like did growing up. I was just in the gym constantly. And that was just kind of what I was doing. I learned a lot like really quickly, and kind of, that first year was a huge transition year for me. And it was a big part, like coming in, I told Charlie, like, we want to change the culture a little bit here. That was my, like, when I was a senior in high school, I told him, like, cause I just heard a lot of stuff from like previous, like years ago from the Hawaii program. And like, I know it's a special place, special fan base when the situation's right there, when it's a successful program. They have guys there that are doing good stuff, taking care of grades and everything like that. The state of Hawaii gets behind those teams. And that all, like, I was very aware of, and my dad from coaching there understood that as well. And so for me, to be honest, Hawaii wasn't my first choice ever until the last 2 days of my decision. And I couldn't be happier that I went to Hawaii. It's the best decision I made of my life, without a doubt. My junior year is my first year really taking over a starting position. They brought in some really good players, Radopar Bunov, Stein van Tilburg. My brother snatched my brother from UCLA. I had to have a conversation with him one night, and I got him turned.
He told us about that.
UCLA still doesn't. Brad Keller still gives me crap about that. Especially because my brother told him, he's like, yeah, I won't make a decision based on my brother. And I was like, the reason he switched his decision, I called him. But in general, playing in Hawaii is a really, really special place. The fans there, the community, how much they support the players there is incredible. And just the resource you have there, like it's truly like, you won't play. From anywhere I've been, I haven't seen like just an entire kind of package as you do at Hawaii. I hate to say it, and I know like coaches out there will try to fight me, and players will have other opinions, but just the whole package of playing in Hawaii, living in Hawaii, that whole thing for the program where it's at right now, don't see how you turn that down if like they're seriously after you. If they like want you to be one of their guys, I feel like Hawaii has the ability to go get anybody they want at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the culture and kind of the way that they've kind of set up their program has been pretty really, because even when I was in recruitment time, Hawaii definitely did not have the name that it has right now. It was still like a big like top 10 kind of insane school, but like it was not carrying the weight that it carries like it does now. But speaking of that, and some of the standards, and you said you wanted the culture to change within there, we've heard some pretty crazy rules and different things that have come through and out of Hawaii, and some of the restrictions that players have as put on by others. And your name was tossed in there for the specific girlfriend rule. You want to weigh in on that?
That was specific to my senior year. There's several elements that go into that, and some people or have like misinformation that they throw out there that I've heard.
We'd love for right here to clear it all up.
That's what I'm gonna do right here. So the biggest thing that year going into it, I personally had come out of a relationship the year before, so I'll start by saying that. And heading into my senior year, I was pretty set on like, there's nothing. I'm not gonna like get involved with anything else. Like I'm really focused on what I have at play. While at the same time, like I'd seen like just relationships from friends and stuff, like really kind of like starting to create a little bit of drama in their lives, like more so like than there needed to be. And so for me, I'm like, guys, bring them in the beginning. Like number one rule this year is no girlfriends. That's the number one rule. In season, there's no girlfriends. And that like guys like Stein, Rattle, they were just loving it. And some guys just kind of thought it was a joke more so, but it got to a point where everybody on campus knew about our rule. And Rado literally, like, there was someone on one of the teams there that Rat was trying to date Rado. And Rado literally used me as an excuse for why he couldn't date. He tells the like, yeah, Joe Worsley, like our one of our captains on our team, he told me I cannot date you. And so literally her entire team came up to me like one day and it's like, what the heck did you tell Rado? And I'm like, what are you talking? I had no idea what happened. They came and told me that he told the reason I can't date you is because of Joe. Like that's straight up the reason. And he would use that with all the girls. And I'm like, okay, this can't just be like a thing. Like if you don't want to be serious with somebody, then tell me you don't throw me out there. He's using me as freaking as an excuse for his decisions in his personal life. And so there was that. And in general, like guys in relationships, and some guys got frustrated because whenever we did anything competitive in practice, if a guy with a girlfriend, got blocked on game point, or like we went to laser tag one day and we did a game, girlfriends versus no guys with girlfriends versus guys with no girlfriends. And we whooped them in laser tag. And we took a team photo. We like all of our Instagrams, they were posting it. And every like small game we would do, it's like all the guys in like Stein and Rado were having like really good seasons that year. And they were getting all these like all conference awards and whatever that is. And they're like, and Rado would always point out, I was like, the only guys getting these awards are guys without girlfriends. He would always bring that up. And Charlie just chuckled at it because he just thought it was hilarious. In Milan, later on in the year, Milan started making jokes. He's like, these guys just because they can't get any girls. That's what he kept saying. He's like, these guys just can't get girls, so they just come up with this rule. And so that's kind of where it was a joke mostly. Some guys in training though, like it was used as a heckling device for sure. Like guys are using that to heckle, and it got a little more serious in training than it was ever intended to be. But it was mainly, just messing with the guys and using it like, hey, you didn't freaking win that drill because you guys have girlfriends. So we convinced Charlie a couple times to do games, girlfriends versus no girlfriends. And Rado always, he's like, we never can lose this game, ever can lose this game. So that's kind of the backstory of it. It's not like I wasn't going in and like telling guys to break up with guys who were in relationships. I wasn't like, it was a joke that was being passed around, and it got around like the TV outlets and started hearing about it. And then I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm just like being painted as this, I don't know, like guy who doesn't want any of our team to have fun or enjoy their life. So that's the truth of it.
Pete, you were gonna say something?
Oh, yeah. I lost that thought real quick. It'll come back to me. This happened. This is a normal occurrence in my life. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. It's funny how like personal shit can get brought up pretty often in a men's like practice gym. Like it gets pretty heated, and then girlfriends get thrown into it. It's whatever, man. Anything's fair game, it seems like.
Yeah, and then gnarly. So my brother at the time was dating Jordan Ewert's sister. I don't know if you know. So they were dating.
Yeah.
At the time, and Jordan came our senior. So my senior, his senior, he came, and our whole student section knew about this. And you should have seen the signs that were made, and you should have seen the heckling that was like what was being said. I heard later on because they were like the student section's always. They travel, go right behind the other team's bench. And I found out later there were signs being made and stuff. And I heard some people got pretty close to getting thrown out for it. I'm like, dude, our student section is pretty funny actually, but the heckling at the matches for us was pretty, I'm sure with you guys too, but in practice, like we had some guys like going at it sometimes at Hawaii. Here at my club, my new club down at right now, it's not so much. We don't have that kind of those type of guys so much besides like Dalton and guys like that. But when I was in Friedrichshafen, we had a lot of Eastern Euro guys, some really like machismo type of characters. And we had some funny incidences go down in Friedrichshafen like Marshall and Vincic and those guys.
Dude, I love people who are like good hecklers or good shit talkers are my favorite. They make the best stories every time. Charleston was so far from being the school that had like the best hecklers or the strongest student section, but we had a core group of friends that were like 10 guys in general, like guys from the track team and the golf team that loved us. And one specifically, one was Jorge. He was like from Mexico. He was a golfer from Mexico, and he was a fucking character guy. I can't even describe this kid, but he would come to like we would sometimes have like noon or 1 o'clock matches on Saturdays, like most colleges. He would come in hungover as shit in his robe with like no shirt, no like underwear half the time. Or no, he had underwear, but that was it. Underwear, no shirt, his robe and slides. And he would come in and shit on everybody from the other team. Like he was the lone heckler, like right next to them. He got kicked out of our home gym like probably 7 or 8 times in my senior year. He got kicked out of like home matches. He was unreal, dude. He was ridiculous.
It drives me nuts when they kick out. Our volleyball team, we got kicked out of every venue except the volleyball games. We got kicked out of baseball, softball, water polo. Our team was a little Dalton Solbrig. I don't know if I've met a better heckler than that guy. He's super sharp, super witty, and he says some funny stuff. And it's super creative too. Like it's nothing like it just makes you like, damn, like he's right. I don't know. I don't have an example for you, but like he would say stuff. It's just I agree. Good hecklers, it's impressive. And I think it drives me nuts when they kick those people out again. I'm like, that's part of the environment. Sports is an entertainment industry. That's what you're there to entertain. And that's part of the entertainment. It's like the fans need to be involved.
Literally. And the one time that I got it that fucking caught me so off guard, we were playing at Penn State in Rec Hall, and they had the review system. It was like shortly after they got it. And we reviewed a call. So we were all standing at the end line looking at the big screen, like looking for it. And the wrecking crew or whatever they're called that show up for all of them had like the pamphlets and read mine and read that I was from Baltimore, Maryland. And he goes, Brandon, Baltimore? He's like, the Orioles fucking suck. And I was like, I was just not expecting anything like that. And I'm on the court, like looking at the big screen, and I lost it. I was like, dude, you're so right. Orioles are, and I just started thinking about like our trade offers. I was like, we're so trying. I was like, you're so right. It's like, it's the one thing you go to. But
the nice thing about volleyball too is there's usually like a lull in the gym. So like good hecklers, I think they find that right opportunity and they just like go for it and everyone can hear it, like the whole gym usually, right? Like it's kind of nice. Everyone gets in on the action. Here's what's going on. So.
I like that. The timing is key. It's like right when it goes silent, you gotta hit. That's when you hit them. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. If it's good enough.
Yeah.
Or if you're confident enough. That's the other thing. You gotta have the balls to be the guy, because if you fuck it up, they're gonna make sure you know about it. But moving a little bit forward, let's get into a little bit without a system. We've gotten a lot about you, but obviously you and your brother started out a system, and it started with a different group of people. It was like a podcast, and now you guys do all types of shit, content, like you're basically a content entertainment marketing business kind of thing. With the podcast, everything else. So I mean, you don't need to give the whole run through on that. I'm sure if people are listening to this, they've heard of you guys for sure. But just in general, how's everything going without a system and all that?
It's going, it's awesome. So for us, as just like it's for you guys, like it started up because in quarantine, we were just bored. My brother just started shooting this dumb little YouTube show. It's hilarious to go back and look on. It started off in our bathtub. I was in my bathtub shooting this show because it was just like the best. It was ridiculous. Some of the first shows we were bringing on guests. We brought on Mike. So before Micah was like a part of our team, we brought on Micah and Zana. And my brother came up with this segment called Thruples Therapy. And we'd bring on couples. and it was the most ridiculous. My brother would just go on to it was ridiculous. Micah thought it was hilarious. Like right from there is kind of when we started getting Micah like a little bit interested in what we were doing. And it's turned, like you said, it's turned into like how we define it now is volleyball lifestyle brand focused on volleyball media production, events, and merchandise. And that's kind of our verticals right now, what we're really investing into. And so for us, we're onboarding a bunch of team members. We're putting together like really our like business, what we're trying to do from a business perspective, really connecting with the volleyball world, as well as that non-endemic world who like doesn't have a clue what volleyball is. Like we want to connect to both and figuring out, how we can do that, how we can be assets to the events we're working with. There's all these different aspects that's going on right now in the short term. And then for us, we want to be that outlet to be able to be that easy access to like the elite level volleyball player, to like the everyday kind of recreational junior players. And so also figuring out, how does our, verticals and our stuff that we're investing into fit that sort of mission, so to speak. So we have a lot of cool stuff. This summer we're hosting our first couple events. We're doing another tour this summer. It's freaking huge. So big. We had so many people write us, like clubs and stuff, and so it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be super fun though. We started up an NIL program as well this past year. We worked with 2 athletes. That was kind of a pilot program, so to speak. And so that's going to be much more extensive into the fall, building that out. And so, but yeah, we're still in a phase like now where it's like startup sort of phase. And we onboard some really cool people. We just brought on so I no longer have a title as CEO. I'm COO. We brought on somebody. He came to us from, he was the CRO at North America's largest esports facility. And before that, he's working with the Texas Rangers ownership group to restructure their entire revenue model. So he's like his experience, everything has been crazy. Like we're learning a bunch. We're like, he's really kind of getting things straightened out for us and giving us ideas and really like getting down, like what is out of system at the end of the day? Like that's what we had to answer at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so what I defined you at the beginning of this whole spiel is how we see it. And so, it's a lot of cool stuff. We still do a lot of like dumb stuff. Just, we hop on the podcast, do the podcast once a week. We shoot a bunch of different content. We're just growing our social media platforms, but in the background, we're lining up a bunch of stuff here for like long-term kind of business plans. So it's cool though. I learn a bunch. Like I've never I got a degree in psychology. I'm getting my master's in sports psychology right now. And so that the business world is a lot of new stuff for me, but I really enjoy it because I learn stuff every day. Volleyball at this point, I still you learn a little bit like every single day, but for the most part, everything you're doing, you've done your entire life. This world now, the business side of things and media and all that, I'm like learning new stuff like crazy. And so I really like that about it. Because a lot of new challenges and it's just like learn something and it's like, okay, then I go like fully 100% into it to make sure that I can kind of like, I want to master everything that I kind of do, so to speak. And so that aspect of my life also is something that I'm super invested in.
Yeah, you guys have been doing, I mean, insane shit. Like, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous the growth that you guys have seen and found. And I mean, like we said, we're doing something similar on a much smaller scale, obviously, and we're sticking to kind of like our foundation. But I mean, just the like reach that you guys have performed in like 2 years, 3 years is really ridiculous and impressive. So, I mean, that's sick for you guys too. I mean, a lot of people look for what to do, and people that have been so invested in volleyball and stuff try to find like they don't know what the hell to do with themselves whenever they retire from playing, because it's been their whole life, and they, even in school, they didn't really care about their degree because they were so focused on winning a championship or something like that, and then it's like, fuck, like, what am I going to do with my life now? And I mean, you guys already have a well built up company with a like a huge staff and everything going on, so kudos to you guys. I mean, it's incredible what you guys do, and people who are listening, obviously, I'm sure you've heard of them, but if you haven't, go check out the system, because it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, we're coming like we're playing in tournaments in like every corner of the freaking US this year. We're playing everywhere. So East Coast will be there a decent amount of times. We're gonna be announcing kind of that in the next 2 weeks. My brother's in charge of all that stuff. I'm more on the business side of things. He handles the marketing, content, all that stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it. We're super excited about kind of everything we got going on, and are excited for where that's headed as well.
Yeah, I mean, we'll catch up with you guys at a tournament for sure or something.
100%. Yeah, the tournament, we love grass. Grass volleyball is our favorite. I wish that was a pro. Like, grass volleyball is our favorite style of volleyball. We think it's the perfect gel between the best aspects of the beach game and the best aspects of the indoor game, like all combined in one. And so, like, we're super. You see, AVP's getting super invested into it. USA Volleyball is, like, everybody's investing in good chunk of money into the grass volleyball scene, because it's just a sick scene. Like, you show up, the grass volleyball community is awesome. I love it. So, like, that's definitely an area where Out of System focuses, obviously. But we're excited for what's to come for sure. Yeah.
My one complaint with grass volleyball is that the nets always suck. Like, you can
that's
put
part of the experience.
I know, but dude, it's frustrating when you put up a good block, someone like buries it into like, a few inches into the tape, and then it just dribbles over, and you're just like that's frustrating. But
I know
I
exactly
agree with you, man.
about. Yeah.
Grass is phenomenal. But
it is. The best court we played on, hands down to this point, was down at Spike Fest in Texas. The net systems, the grass, everything was pristine, like the most ideal conditions you could think of. It's like perfect nets, and so we loved it down there. And just like the quality of the competition venue is super sweet, and they had a splash pad. It was like a mini water park for kids, so you just run over there and jump in, and then you run back and play. So Mike and Gage would just boom back and forth all the time. We didn't show that in the vlog so much because we were just looking like idiots, just running back and forth.
When did they have it down there? Like, what time of year?
It was third week of July or third week of July.
So it's like hot as hell down there.
It's freaking. We were sweating our asses off. It was so hot.
Jeez.
What I know we talked about this with Gage when we had him on. What was your favorite memory from the tour this past summer that you guys had?
Favorite memory.
If I remember correctly, Gage talked about the crazy motel person that you guys had to deal with.
Did he tell you that story?
Yeah.
Okay, if he told me the story, that was one of the So I will say that tour, Micah and all of us said, is like one of the best trips we've ever been on in our life. Like, it was just every night we were doing something super fun all the time. Like, it was just every day we had new adventures. And so we loved it. It's easy to say like one of the volleyball events because that's what it was about. So I'm not going to say that. I would say our experience down in Dallas, Texas. We went to a rodeo. We went to Billy Bob's, biggest honky tonk in America. That's what they say, at least. We love country music. So Lady A was performing that night. and the food down there like that. There was one day where we just did all this different stuff down there, and it was sick, and we had an absolute blast. But I can think like every location we were at, we had an incredible time. Delaware, my family, my mom's sister has a house in Delaware down at Rehoboth Beach.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's one of the most beautiful, like it's so beautiful down there. The area where she lives, where our family lives down there and has the house. We were down there for a couple of days. It was incredible. We love it down there. I don't know. It's hard to pick. It's really hard to pick one because we also did this thing where we took a Polaroid camera and we just took Polaroids of everything. Every state sign we were peppering over. It's like we had all these cool like little things that it's really tough to choose one thing. But Dallas is super sick.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's what Gage did mention that. He was the same thing. I'm sure it is, man. You guys literally get to travel the world, travel the country, play volleyball at all these. And like you said, the outdoor and especially grass community is the coolest. Like just to go on tour and do that, it's like sometimes when you're over here, like in professional indoor gyms, obviously like still sick what you're doing, but it's like, it can get a little redundant or you get annoyed with people. In the outdoor scene, I've never been annoyed with a person. Outside of maybe guys being dickheads that are just like assholes for no reason because they're like drunk or whatever. But like every time I go to grass tournaments, I like am at probably one of my happiest just because every person there is so cool, so laid back. Like everybody's so social too. It's not like a lot of other sports where there's these like cliques of like, oh, like you're not an open player, like I'm not fucking with you. It's like, dude, you'll see like an open player go shotgun a beer with like a triple B player, and it's like the best. And it's like that triple B player is a homie. I love that whole scene.
It's a sick, everybody I recommend going to like an event like Boat Ride, Potsdam. Everybody I recommend to, they're like, oh my, I'm coming back here every year. I'm like, dude, all these tournaments are like this. Like every the grass scene it's a sick community. Yeah, we love it. Once we got introduced to it a couple of years ago, we're like, dude, we're doing this every single summer. And then that's kind of where Out of System scaled from because like there's communities like this all over the country. It's like, and people have no idea about this stuff. And so it's crazy. Another crazy thing is like, we were at Boys Nationals last year doing some media stuff and we were interviewing kids. And I would say 75% of the kids have no idea who someone like Matt Anderson is. It's like one of the best players in the history of the US. Ever play the game. Like these kids have no idea who these players are. And they're playing the sport for how long. Their parents are spending thousands of dollars to send them all over the country to play the sport. It's like, you don't go to any basketball player and even ask them like a bench player from any NBA team. They know who they are. In the volleyball world, like we don't know one of the best players of all time in the US. And that for us is also like something that's like, dude, that has to be fixed too in order for volleyball to reach a place. Volleyball also has 900 million like fans, players, coaches, like people involved in the sport throughout the world. It's the 6th largest sport in the world. And yet it's like one of the least revenue generating sports. And so for us also like Out of System, our whole mission, like we constantly like looking at that, like how is that the case? Where can volleyball be more efficient and, be more attractive, be a more attractive market, so to speak, for investors. So yeah, I get that.
Sound like a business major there.
Dude, a fake business major. You gotta fake it till you make it sometimes.
Well, you're pretty good at it. It sounded good. What was I gonna say? Now I'm drawing a blank. It'll come. It'll come back at some point. Tell us about, so I saw that you guys just had a tough game in the final in Germany. I'm going to move a little bit into that. Sorry, this is like a big twist and turn. But jump into like Lunenburg a little bit because I know a lot of Americans have been through there. They have had sick-ass players that go through Lunenburg in general. And I've always honestly been like a pretty big fan of them, just watching them play and seeing the players that they bring in. But you guys have been having a solid season. You got a good, solid crew together and made it to the cup final against your old club. And I know it was a super tough loss, so I don't want to re-salt some wounds. But
it was. Those matches suck because it's like we have a swing, open net, 23 all, third set. It's 1-1 in sets, and we had all the momentum going, swing, and we missed out of bounds. It's like stuff like that. It's like we had so many plays like that where it's like you lose a match like that, It's like, holy crap, how did we not take advantage of this situation, that situation? We had so many plays like that happened. And, you know, I talked to the team before because all experiences, like from when I started playing volleyball, of like championship matches, significant championship matches. So you win them really fast and you can lose them really fast. It's like boom, 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 and all of a sudden you lost. It's like, what the hell just happened? It's exactly what happened in that match. And we talked about it before the match. It's like being able to slow down stuff, you know, like the league gets pissed off. I call rotation check all the time, especially on their best server. Like I pull all kinds of stuff out against their best server. And the coaches there, I had a couple of coaches yell, F you, blah, they were going at me sometimes. And but that's like you learn that from experienced players. You know, I was with Dejan Vicic last year. We worked like a lot together, and we spoke a lot about a lot in terms of just, you know, running a team and leading a team from the setting position. And I like, that's something like he does really well, slowing down the game. You know, he like always feels like he has like control of kind of the flow of the game. And so that's super important and something that I've kind of tried to adapt and pick up on. It's like slowing down stuff, you know, not allowing the other team, because the reality is in a volleyball match, Friedrichshafen had the same thing that match, the last match we played in the cup final. There's like a 3-minute span. They're like peaking at like the top of their game. And like, you can allow them to go on a 7-point run by just boom, 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 boom. Or you know, slow things down, kind of slow their rhythm down. There's a timeout here and there, and they cool down. And then that's how you really manage those, you know, those momentum shifts. And that's something I picked up on like overseas, especially like you see the older players that they're really good. And that's the difference between the top teams in leagues and the bottom league. Like physicality, talent wise, it's there throughout every single team. It's just like in those crunch moments, how do guys handle those situations? And that came out in that match. It's like, it's the reason Friedrichshafen has never missed the Champions League qualification. And it's because, you know, in the big moments, it's like they have the guys that just get over it and like, and make the plays here or there that gets them over the hump. And that's a huge, you know, it's a huge X factor. And the reality is it's like one play you're talking about at the end of the day, but it's like, that's a super important, the ability to make those types of plays and step up in those moments is huge. And for us not to be able to do that was just so heartbreaking, to be honest. Like it was so tough to handle that. Not as obviously, it wasn't as tough as the freaking national championship match against Long Beach. That was the most brutal thing I've ever went through. I was in the locker room like crying for 3 hours. I don't cry like you. If you see me cry, very, very, very rare in general. I'm not like a super emotional guy, so to speak. Like from that, like sensitive, I guess, in a way. Like I said, I'm very much like, what's the problem? Let's fix it. Like I'm not like gonna talk about like the feelings and how we go. Like I'm just like, okay, let's just freaking solve this. And so the fact that I like that meant a lot to us and our team and myself that year. And the cup final, it was, you know, for us, it was up. I knew it was going to be tough for us just because of Friedrichshafen's experience and stuff. But the thing is, we had the chances, we had the opportunities, we put ourselves in the positions to win, and it just was brutal, super brutal. So that's kind of my reaction to that match.
So yeah, good recap of the final of the cup and all that. Like you said, your guys are coming into an elimination round tomorrow. So good luck with that, obviously. And yeah, we're excited for everything you got going in Germany and without a system. Pete, you got anything else you want to touch on?
No, I guess, is there anywhere for people to be able to, like a link or whatever, like people to be able to watch tomorrow? I mean,
yeah, it's Twitch. So Bundesliga has a contract, really awesome. It's super awesome for the league, with Spontent, and the name of like the branch in Spontent is called Bounce House, is the crew who puts it on. But if you go to the Spontent Twitch channel, it's all free. You can access it from anywhere in the world.
awesome.
Stream everything on there. They do a really good job putting on a cool broadcast. It's all in German, so you will get a good laugh at it. When I send them it at first, like they don't realize that it's all in German. And so they're just screaming in German. And then you'll hear, oh, Jordan Ebert and Joseph Worsley. Like every once in a while you'll hear our names, and it's just funny. So, but it's cool. They put on a really cool broadcast, really well done, bunch of cameras, and yeah, you check it out, Spawn 10 on Twitch.
That's sick. I got two last things that I want to touch on before we wrap up. One, obviously, you got your playing career going on, you have out of system going on, which are both successful and going good. But what's your goal as a player? Like, if you have a certain league you want to get to, do you want to, like, are you just the guy that I want to play until I'm 40 kind of guy? Or like, you know, what's your overall, what's the outlook for you in the future of like, is there a time to set it down and just focus on out of system, or what's that balance that you're kind of looking at?
Yeah. I mean, so I've tried to separate those two things, so to speak. It's tough because it's like, okay, if out of system gets to a point where it's like, it's going to need my full attention, then decisions got to be made and stuff. But it's like, at the end of the day, you know, I think for most pro volleyball players, you know, it's something like out of system. If business grows and stuff, you're going to be making the paycheck with that is much different from like a professional volleyball lifestyle. So it's that. But for me, I still love it. I feel like I'm still getting better here and there, every single day in little aspects. And I love the game, love competing. And so for me, it's like, I'm not at a point where I'm ready to stop playing. I would love to play at one of the top leagues in the world, you know, i.e. being, for me, I think the Polish league ultimately would be something really cool, get a shot in. I really want to, play in France in the near future too, if that option pops up. But yeah, super excited. I re-signed to Lunenburg for next year. I can say that. I think they're going to be announcing tomorrow morning, so I don't know when this is coming out, but I don't care. I got yelled at last year. I'm like, it's my contract. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, congrats.
So I'll be in Lunenburg again for another year. But definitely looking, go check out another league. I've been here. This is gonna be my 4th year now in the league. It's an awesome league, but I think in the near future, France and then Poland would be sick. I would love it there. Get a shot in the Plus Liga. So, and then from there, like I said, I have a much like different outlook on like my progression as a player than I did, growing up like in my teens and stuff, because I've become much more like focused on like just controlling what I can control at the end of the day and not allowing like decisions by agents, coaches, national team pipeline, anything like that to affect like how I feel about the game, my progress, my career, anything like that. Because once you allow like someone who makes a decision to like dictate how your career, so to speak, was, I think you do yourself a disservice, like in a significant way. It's like, because it's really difficult, and a lot of it's about timing with stuff, that's more so national team, but also like professionally, it's like timing. It's like a spot opens up and you get an opportunity here and there. It's like a lot of sports it's crazy to me how much sports is about timing, and like the success of careers is about timing. Like doing research and reading books and, watching documentaries, it's so much about just like being a little bit lucky and the timing's right and things just work out in a way. And it's the same thing in a match. It's like most times to win a championship, you're going to have a little bit of luck go your way at some point. And so that's just how it is. And so me, like in terms of like my career, like I, want to just continue playing at a high level. I really enjoy it. I still feel like I have a lot of room to grow. And so with that being said, I will continue to play. Like I won't ever do anything that I don't enjoy. Like I won't be over here because, I just love living in Europe. I mean, Europe's cool and everything, but for me, like I would want to live in the US, like long term, I'll be honest. Like,
yeah.
In Europe's a cool place to, be for a couple of years, but a couple months out of a year at this point in my life. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with everything.
No, I agree. Honestly, I said the same thing so many times. It is cool to be over here, and I love experiencing the history and the culture. But like the U.S. just seems so elite to live in after like living in there and growing up there and then coming here. Yeah, there's no other way to word it.
Yeah, I definitely want to live in the U.S. long term. Some people are like, "Why?" I'm like, you haven't even been in the U.S., so why are you asking me why?
Yeah. Literally. All right. Well, sweet, man. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. It's been a fuck ton of fun. And like I said, we appreciate you taking time out of your night to come on and time out of all the work you're doing without a system and training. So, I mean, anytime that you want to come back on or that you need anything from us, like you said, we look forward to seeing you over the summer on your guys' tour and excited for the announcements of that. So go check out a system out on Instagram. Like a quick Google, you'll be able to find them super quick.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me on. First of all, this is freaking awesome. I love just chatting on volleyball and you know, guys like you, like who just kind of come on and shoot the shit, so to say, about volleyball. It's like my favorite thing to do. So super cool that you guys got this going on. And thankful for you guys bringing me on and thinking of me. I know I'm not as entertaining as the other guys, and I fully accept that. I mean that in the most uplifting, positive way. I don't mean that like in a backhand way. Like those guys are freaking Gage and Micah, they're hilarious. And that's people like want content from those guys. Like you said, I'm much more like process, behind the scenes business stuff. And so I appreciate, you guys reaching out and bringing me on. Like I said, I'm honored. And you guys got, super cool. So I love watching all your guys' reels. You guys do a super good job picking out like good tidbits here and there from the podcast to put up on reels. So I'm excited to see what you guys pick out from this one. I'll be interested to see.
Sweet.